Welcome to my Crusader Kings 2 tutorial for ships. This video explains the mechanics, uses, and user interface of ships, also known as galleys or fleets. This tutorial is aimed at beginners. Ships are used for transporting troops over water. Each ship can fit up to 100 troops. There are no naval battles or blockades in Crusader Kings 2. Galleys come mainly from shipyard buildings. You can also get some by hiring mercenaries. To do so, you would click the Military tab and go to Mercenaries. Then you would pick a band that consists of galleys, such as the North Sea Cogs, and click Hire. Ships are useful for sending troops to distant lands, even when they don't need to cross the sea. Ships move very quickly, so over long distances, transporting troops over water is often faster than traveling by land. Furthermore, when your forces travel a long distance over land that is not in your realm, they tend to die by attrition. A skull icon next to an army indicates death by attrition. Let's look at how to transport troops. The user interface for transporting an army is a little tricky at first. I am playing as the King of France. Let's say I want to send my army to Ireland. First, I'll bring up my soldiers by clicking the Military tab and clicking Raise Personal Levies and Raise Vassal Levies. I'll get my vassals to contribute ships by clicking Fleet Levies, then Raise Vassal Fleets. My domain doesn't have any ships, but if it did, I could call them in by clicking Raise Personal Fleet. It's often better not to use your personal fleet levies, but rather to use only your vassals' fleet levies. This is because fleet levies are fairly expensive. They require a lot of gold per month in upkeep. If you use only your vassals' ships, then you won't pay any upkeep for ships. Only your vassals will pay. It's true that in certain types of wars, typically aggressive wars, when you use a vassal's levies, his opinion of you will gradually decrease. However, if you're already using a vassal's ground forces, then you will take the same opinion hit regardless of whether you use his ships as well. Now I will select all of my ships. Notice that if I try to click and drag to select them, the game selects my troops instead. The game doesn't allow me to select troops and galleys at the same time. So what I'll do is hold the Alt key while I click and drag. Holding the Alt key tells the game to select my ships rather than my troops. Now that I've selected all of my ships, I right-click on a water space adjacent to land to order them to move there. I'll select my troops and send them to a county adjacent to the water space. Then I'll wait for all of them to arrive. I'll merge my troops into one unit by clicking Merge the Selected Units. There are two requirements for the unit to fit on board the galleys. First, there must be at least one ship per 100 troops. My 128 ships can fit up to 12,800 troops, so I have enough room. Second, these ships must be in a single unit. I'll select them and merge them into one unit by clicking the Merge button. There are two ways to board. The first way is to select the soldiers and right-click on the adjacent water space to order them to move onto the ships. The second way is to select the ships and move them to the county's port by right-clicking the county. Then I select the troops and click the Embark Army button. Note that you can't move ships to the ports of counties that are not in your realm. You can only move them to friendly ports. If possible, boarding at a port is a little faster than boarding at a water space. If you made a mistake, then you won't be able to board. Either the Embark button will be grayed out, or a movement arrow will not appear when you right-click to move your army to the water. If this happens, then you most likely made one of three mistakes. First, you may have too few ships. If you don't have at least one ship per 100 troops, you might want to break up your army and make multiple trips to transport all of the troops. You can break up a unit by selecting it and clicking either the New Unit button or the Split in Half button, which is next to the Embark button. Second, the ships might not be in one unit. Be sure to merge them into a single unit. Third, they might be in a water space when they need to be in a port, or vice versa. Ports are considered to be different locations from water spaces. Now that the troops have boarded, it's time to transport them to Ireland. I select the ships, right-click on a water space adjacent to Ireland, and wait for them to arrive. Like with boarding, there are two ways to disembark. I can select the army by selecting the galleys and clicking on the unit button. I can then right-click on an adjacent county to order my army to move there. Alternatively, I could have simply moved my ships to a port. Soldiers will automatically disembark in a county when they are transported to the county's port. My realm does not include any Irish counties, so in this case I can't land in Ireland by sailing to a port. But like with boarding, when you can land at a port, it's a bit faster than disembarking from a water space. When your troops disembark, they have low morale. You should avoid disembarking directly onto a county with enemy forces unless you greatly outnumber them, because you're liable to lose the resulting battle. Better to land in a nearby county and allow time for morale to increase before engaging the enemy. When you're done using your ships, you can dismiss them by going to the Military tab and clicking the Dismiss buttons. Alternatively, you can select the ships you wish to dismiss and click Disband Unit. Note that if you dismiss fleet levies when they're not in a friendly port, only half of the ships will make it back home. It will take a while for the lost galleys to regenerate, so normally you should move your fleet levies to a port first. Once they arrive, it's safe to disband them. Naturally, whenever you dismiss your ships, any troops that are still on board the ships are dismissed as well. That's all there is to it. Now get out there and conquer the world without fear of the sea.